Welcome to South Beach Sessions. I'm genuinely excited for Kathy Griffin because I want to tell her, and give me a second to yammer, and you, why it is I admire her so much, because she has lived a rich life. You're talking about a Guinness World Record holder for comedy specials, 23. She has written and produced all of them. She has 6 Grammy nominations for all 6 of her comedy albums.
Yeah.
Her memoir was #1 bestseller as soon as it came out. She can't hear the smattering of very small applause that's being played here, but she is a legend, a legitimate legend, a pioneer. Performed all over the world, including war zones, award-winning activist, icon in the gay community, doxxed, canceled, fired, a lot of pain and a lot of laughter. Thank you for what it is your work has been for many years, because you conquered the game and you're one of the best to do it.
Oh my God, you're so nice. I'm just so grateful to still be doing it, because after the Trump thing, I'm not going to lie, that really messed with my head, because remember, I wasn't just canceled. People talk about being canceled. And frankly, sometimes people should. So I know comics go, oh, cancel culture. I wasn't canceled. I was investigated by 2 agencies within the Department of Justice at the behest of the president and the attorney general. I was investigated by the U.S. Attorney's Office and the Secret Service. I was put on the no-fly list. I was
one of the lists. That's one of the lists you were put on.
You were on the D list. I was also on the Interpol list. And I was in the middle of a 50-city tour. And when the photo came out, went to TMZ of all places, because Harvey Levin is a gay Trumper, which is a mystery to me, but he is. And he's very much in bed with Trump. And they turned that photo where I'm holding up the Trump mask with blood on it, and they turned that into a meme in Iran and Russia and China. And I was the, quote, face of ISIS. As a 57-year-old redhead, I was the face of ISIS.
Kathy, you got here fast. Here fast. You're touring for the first time in 6 years, and I want to talk to you about all of it, because, like I said, this is a part of her life. The things that have happened to you after 57 and 58 have been hard, difficult things. You've had
drug addiction.
Yes. The Trump stuff was very difficult, and we will get to it. I can't imagine how difficult. Your tour is about PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder.
Which I've been diagnosed with complex PTSD. And by the way, it's okay if people laugh at me, because I laugh too, because I thought it was just for combat veterans.
So that people understand what that is. It's the trauma that messes with your head, not necessarily just in war zones, but your last 6 years seem to be, you're on tour for the first time in 6 years, something that would be a mental health crisis, all of it.
I was canceled by everybody. I lost about 75% of my friends. I was considered toxic. My own industry turned on me. I hoped to get a special, but my agents tell me that the industry is still squeamish after all these years because of the Trump photo. So its tentacles are long and wide, but I'm so thrilled to be in the middle of a 40-city tour. And then I take the summer off, and then I go back and I do the larger cities in the fall. And I even get to go back to Carnegie Hall on October 26th.
You sold it out in 12 hours, and Radio City Music Hall right afterwards.
I played the next night. I mean, I've had some magical moments. And so those years when it was taken away from me, I felt like I was missing an arm, and I did not deal with it well. I just plummeted.
I can't imagine what it was like to not be able to do a thing that you identify with. I don't know how much
I'm a happy workaholic. I love stand-up. Like, I have a burning desire to hit the mic. If I think of something funny, I want to run up and do it. I want to put it in the show. And I just love every show.
You are somebody who has grinded at comedy for
I'm a grinder
long time.
For sure. Honey, I wasn't even on TV till I was 36. Then, I had a good run. I got my first HBO special, and then a Comedy Central special, and then I went to Bravo, and I had My Life on the D List, which just dropped on Peacock. So after all these years, if you want to rediscover Kathy Griffin, My Life on the D List, please check it out.
I didn't even mention that in the introduction. She won 2 Emmys for what was a pioneering reality show.
Well, I love your compliment, but what I will say is it was real. Like nowadays, the Kardashians, those shows, they're called soft scripted because, they kind of give them liners and stuff. And the D-list was real. If you think I could get my alcoholic parents to do a script, you're crazy.
Why the need to show everybody everything? Why? What's the call of it?
Because I think I've always been a magnet for crazy. I'm just that person that people come up to and say crazy stuff, or something crazy happens to me, or I'm doing a crazy corporate gig where I'm bombing, and so I have to make fun of it. I have done 18 gay cruises. 18. And let me say this to the straights. You may think you party. You may think you party.
We don't know how
you have
party.
no idea.
Mm-hmm.
But I love doing them, and I love working, and I haven't played every state in the union, but I've come damn close, and I'm still thrilled to be 3 shows in Florida, Orlando, Tampa, and Lauderdale, and I can't even remember where I go after this, but I'm just thrilled.
Well, explain to me what touring is after 6 years, how much fear is involved, how much you missed it, if you thought it was gone forever.
Yeah. Well, I have security concerns because the Trumpers still come after me. So, for example, I had a show in, of all places, Long Island recently, and there was a big Trump protest. And they had the now famous image of President Biden bound and gagged. And that was the first time they premiered that image on somebody's truck. And then Trump reran the video on Truth Social with my marquee in the background saying, Kathy Griffin tonight, my life on the PTSD list tour. And so it all got ginned up again. And then next thing you know, Chachi's coming after me. Freaking Chachi.
Not Scott Baio.
Kevin Sorbo.
Okay.
Nobody posts that Trump photo more than Trumpers, and they all want to send me to Guantanamo Bay.
Well, let's talk about that in a second because
Bay.
I know it's terrible.
Come on.
That's not good. That's not a good situation.
First of all, my hair would frizz. My hair would frizz.
Guantanamo Bay in Cuba. I'm Cuban, so yes, I know what you have been under it in a way. She's not exaggerating when she says that the fear is real. It's not an imagined thing. And one of the reasons I admire you is because comedians have always risked. The best ones have always risked big things.
I think so. See, I'm from that school, and I would never put myself in this class. But, Carlin was arrested by the police. I was arrested by the feds. But
you put yourself a class above. You didn't even put yourself in the class. If you're going to really get arrested, how about you really get arrested?
The entire Department of Justice and the president and
Lenny
the attorney
Bruce.
general, cabinet members were coming after me. But Lenny Bruce and Carlin, they were hassled by local PD. And that is awful, but it's a bit of a different animal. For example, the no-fly list thing prohibited me from being able to make a living. So not only are people that were coming to my shows in good faith, I'm apologizing to them left or right, but then people have to remember after that Trump thing, everyone turned on me left, right, and center. It wasn't just Trumpers. I had my good friend, I just loved Al Franken. And Al called me that day and he said, I can't be seen with you. And I was good friends with Cher. I know I'm name dropping, but I haven't seen Cher since that Trump thing. And I'm still hurt and a little bit shocked that, people would see really a protest photo, a joke, whatever you want to classify the photo as, it's up to you. But it got so exaggerated. And to call me a terrorist and put me on the no-fly list, I've been doing stand-up for so long, I'm 63. I've made fun of every president. Obama, HW. I mean, Clinton. You got to make fun of the president. It's called punching up. But this particular president, who I know quite well, I know Trump pretty well. I've known him for about 25 years. And for him to come at me with that power was just, it was so overwhelming that I wasn't safe walking down the street. I had people confront me constantly if I left my house, Trumpers, or even people on the left saying, you've made it so American service members aren't safe because of you. That never happened. You're going to be in ISIS videos. That never happened. Americans are going to be beheaded in your name. That never happened. But then Hollywood went, nope, she's toxic. and they abandoned me, honey. I was sitting in my house all by myself crying.
This is a lot, Kathy.
It's a lot. I know. I'm supposed to be funny.
No. I do not have the expectation of funny here. I appreciate your vulnerability. When I say it's a lot, just listening to you creates an anxiety in me.
Right?
Yes, what you've been through the last 6 years. I don't even want to discuss sort of whatever the controversy is on the front end that made everyone yell and scream at each other and the art of it, or you apologizing, and if you regret the apology. The part I want to talk to you about...
By the way, I do regret the apology. I just have to say that.
Okay.
I think a comedian should be able to make fun of the president, even though I know mine went far, but I felt as a woman, women weren't getting how dangerous he is. And of course, here's the funny part.
It's revealed itself.
I thought people would have my back. And honey, the cheese stood alone. The cheese stood alone.
Well, I want to ask you about losing 75% of your friends, because when you're talking about what this has wrought,
yeah,
you couldn't have possibly understood the consequences.
I thought that picture would be on a gay blog for 2 days. I took another series of photos. I took one where I was spoofing Kim Kardashian, who was my next door neighbor at the time. I took one where I was looking like a 50s housewife. And I was in between gigs. I didn't have a publicist. And I thought, okay, I'll take like a protest Trump picture because he's so outrageous. And then that's the one that the photographer, who never suffered any consequences, sold to TMZ. I don't know why he did that. I think maybe he just didn't know TMZ was in bed with Trump. But then it exploded. And then Trump tweeted, "My son, Barron, is going to be very disturbed by this." By the way, let's see if he even goes to Barron's graduation. That's going to be, let's see. I want to see him sitting there at Barron's graduation because he demanded the day off his trial. But still to this day, it hurts that people think I'm controversial because honestly, most of my act is making fun of celebrities.
That's right.
I'm not a political
comedian. For those of you who do not know the history, she has always mocked herself first,
yes,
and that she is fame adjacent in a way that makes fun of
D-list
fame.
on a good day.
That's
D-list on a good day. Every so often I'll have a C- day, but pretty much D-list.
I understand, or I can't begin to understand, but why Trump and all of that would be so front of mind for you. And I just want to talk to you because your life, I don't know where the laughter comes from. I don't know what a mask it is for pain, but the specifics of your last 6 years and calling the tour what you're calling it.
Yep.
Post-traumatic stress disorder. You
Yeah.
skipped over the part of even without this.
Yeah.
Even without what your last 6 years have been,
Yes.
you have occupied a mentally traumatic space for a very long time, and you've made comedy out of it.
It's been rough. And look, I had lung cancer. I never smoked. I have half a lung on my left side. My mom died during COVID. She and I were super tight. I filed for divorce 3.5 months ago. I thought I'd be married forever. I'm crushed. I find the humor because I don't know what else to do. I'm such a stand-up comic that I write almost in my dreams. I'll wake up at 3 a.m, write something on a cocktail napkin. I'm so old-fashioned. I still write topics. I don't write my act. Like Jerry Seinfeld sits down at a computer. He writes an act. He knows where the commas are. He knows where the periods are.
Where every word is. Now,
I love Jerry. He's a national treasure. I'm very improvisational. So besides the great Joan Rivers, who was really my mentor, and Don Rickles, I knew them very well, and they saved my life many times. But the great Robin Williams, early on, he saw me bomb one time, and he came up to me and he said, "You're onto something. Don't worry about it. Keep doing the off-the-cuff improvisation." He said, "That's what comedy is. One night it works, the next night you try something new, and you keep trying stuff till it works, and then you change it again." And I take, when you have greats like that, take a minute of their time and go, "Hey, I think this will help you out." It would just mean the world to me. The world to me.
Lisa Kudrow, I think you've credited
from Friends.
From Friends.
Lisa Kudrow said, "I think you're good at doing characters," because we both tried out for Saturday Night Live, and of course Lisa got the job. And she said, And I'm sorry, she did Friends. Julia Sweeney got the job. But at least, of course, went on to a better job, in my opinion. But Lisa pulled me aside. She's Phoebe Buffay on Friends. And she said, I think you're funny doing characters, but I actually think you're funnier when you just tell stories from your life. And that was something I took in. And she was right. I'm not one of those SNL girls. I guess I could do it if I had a gun to my head, but it's not what I'm
it wouldn't be
great at.
fun. The confinements for you of the rigors of sort of, I got to get every word in the right place would be not as fun as just being yourself.
I don't even know how to do it. Like every show I do opening material about the city and I make fun of them right to their faces. So when I do Tampa tonight, I will be making jokes about Tampa right to their faces. And they know it and they go with it. And it's never mean. But like, I'll find like a local news article, like 90-year-old woman becomes a pilot and has to wear Depends on the airplane. Okay, that's gold. That's gold.
Is it?
And it'll be in some local paper and the audience loves it because they know I took a minute to be personal. Then I get into the act. I don't have an opener because I can't have those guy openers anymore with the whore in the hotel room that I have to pay for. And then it all comes back on me. I'm sorry. I am sorry. I do 2 hours.
That's why you ran the openers out of there? You just can't travel with men anymore because they can't behave?
There's just too many whores, and they get the whores in the room, and then I don't know what's happening, and I had to say no. So I do 2 hours by myself, be on time, and keep an open mind.
All right. How, this is a broad question.
Okay.
But explain to me what, you mentioned Joan Rivers, what being a woman in this male-dominated field has been for you. Because when I call you a pioneer, that is so. You come from a time where great strength
where there
was required.
One at a time. Mom's Mabley, the only one of her time. Toady Fields, the only one of her time. Phyllis Diller, the only one of her time. Joan Rivers, the only one at that level of her time. Okay, I have some bad news for you. It's still really bad. Like if you were going to call your local comedy club and say, okay, give me your lineup for Saturday night, they probably have 12 guys and 1 woman. And so I wish I could say it's better. But you know what my biggest stigma is? And that's why I'm so grateful to do this show. There's still a stigma that chicks just aren't funny. And I get a lot of gay guys and women that come to my shows. And I get a lot of couples where my joke is the woman had to drag the guy to the Kathy Griffin show, so she has to give him a blowjob afterwards. It's a deal. I feel it's a fair deal. But I've been asking my straight guy friends. I said, look, if you have a night out with your bros and you're going to go see a comedy show, would it ever occur to you to come see me or Chelsea Handler or Wanda Sykes or Whitney Cummings or Margaret Cho? And all of my friends said, honestly, Kathy, we're going to go see Chappelle. We're going to go see Rock. And that's my biggest stigma to selling tickets is I'm still trying to convince people chicks are funny.
I'm ashamed to say, as we sit here, that on the first date of my wife, to impress her,
yes,
I called Frank Caliendo, a comedic friend, and Carrot Top, a comedic friend, to have that conversation with my wife, who is also very funny. But I was showing off that I could get Scott and Frank on the phone.
It's so funny because the MAGAs always put pictures of me. Carrot Top's real name is Scott Thompson, as you know. And they put pictures of us together, and they think it's this big insult, like, which one is which? Carrot Top is laughing all the way to the bank.
Oh, my God.
He has never been out of work since the day I met him. I met him when he started doing colleges. He was making a fortune. And you know what? Good for him.
People do not know.
His audiences love
Kathy,
him.
I don't think people have, beyond the expectation of funny and the bravery it requires to get on stage every night in front of strangers, I don't think people have any earthly idea the difficulties of how it is to become as successful as you are and were when you were just bringing all of it in as a unique person in your time.
Yeah, and look, every city is different. You know, one thing that breaks my heart is I would say I've lost probably permanently about a third of my audience. And
because of the most recent stuff?
Because of the Trump thing. I think I've gained some audiences that are maybe a little bit more political, maybe a little bit more liberal, but I used to play the South like crazy because they knew me as somebody that would make fun of Hollywood and the Kardashians and celebrities.
I can't believe the deep water you found yourself in.
Oh,
Given,
man.
I don't know whether you're grateful for it in any way, what you've learned from it, or the strength in it. But you specifically, having worked the way you have, ending up in political quagmire like that.
know.
And then feeling like the government is falling atop all your fears and neuroses.
I was interrogated under oath. They were seriously considering charging me with conspiracy to assassinate the President of the United States. That has never happened in the history of comedy. Never. And I accept it. People come up to me now, they're much nicer, and they go, good for you. You were ahead of your time. I get the pun. But man, I was afraid to walk down the street
Kathy,
for years.
I can't imagine, never mind outside of your home. I don't know how your brain functions. I don't know how much daily anxiety you have independent of this. But going to sleep at night with this hanging over your head when you've been somebody, hey, I just want to dance around Hollywood and have a little fun. How did I end up here?
I'm making fun
It's
of
a
Paris
mind
Hilton.
fuck. It's an unbelievable mind fuck.
It's so funny. I use that word all the time. It was the mind fuckery that did it.
I mean,
it was so confusing and it was frustrating. And Bravo fired me, and I worked at NBC Universal for a million years. And then Jeff Zucker, who fired me, got Me Too'd out of the business. And then Leslie Moonves, where I'm banned from CBS for life because I got into a fight with Leslie Moonves. He got Me Too'd out of the business, but I'm still banned.
Well, TV executives are pretty useless. I haven't
You know
met...
what Joan Rivers used to say? She used to say, they're just removable bodies and heads. You can switch one from the other. And she would say, Kathy, keep doing your work. Keep being as funny as you can. And that's all you can do.
The reason that I feel for you is because going through a modicum of turbulence, getting in trouble at ESPN for just sort of barely grazing any of this stuff in the most in the most harmless way, but breaking company policy and doing so, and then going through the subsequent storm of being turned into a political weapon in these divisive times. It was so unpleasant for me.
Yep.
Yours is 10 trillion times worse.
But you know what it's like.
No. I don't know what it's like, but I was inviting it knowing there were more consequences.
Yeah.
You invited it without knowing you were going to turn your life upside down.
Picture. I really did. I thought there's a lot of people, especially women, that can't stand Trump. They'll find this funny. You want to go for the king, you take his head off. You know what I mean? Perseus and Medusa. There's actually a lot of, believe it or not, headless is a real history. There's a David Spade movie called 8 Heads in a Duffel Bag.
What's that about?
There's a movie called Death Becomes Her with Meryl Streep and Bruce Willis where they get beheaded. So I wasn't even breaking new ground in that way, but it's because I have a history with Trump, or the Donald as he likes to be called, and he cannot handle it when he feels a woman shames him. And I believe, and I've heard from people in his circle, that's what triggered him. Is he felt like, who is this bitch thinks she is? I've known her. And also, I was an easy target. I didn't have an agent at the time. I had been fired from Bravo, so I didn't have a gig. I had New Year's Eve coming up, but then the picture came out, and I'm watching the ticker on CNN, and it says, Kathy Griffin fired on CNN. Nobody even called me.
I want to talk about your firings. I imagine there's some funny stories here. I don't know how you lasted such little time on The View. I don't know the details of you going back and forth with Anderson Cooper and Andy Cohen. We'll put those off to the side for the moment. In the height of whatever rock bottom was in that, when you are going to the darkest of places, and I from over here, I'm like, how could she not feel so helpless that she would think it a relief to end her life, that would end the pain because her mind is spinning out.
That's what I thought. I became addicted to prescription pills at the age of 57, so I'm a late bloomer. Who the hell becomes a junkie at 57? But I didn't know what to do with myself. I was scared. I had lots of security. I had all kinds of death threats. The FBI was coming to the house twice a week to tell me about what credible threats were out there. It was madness. And so I became addicted to prescription pills, and I would just take pills. And then I'm not this way normally, but because of the pills, I started thinking about suicide. So I tried to take my life. I took many pills. And I went to the emergency room because when I came to, I fell down my 2 flights of stairs. I didn't fall asleep to my death. And so I kind of have to laugh that I even screwed that up. But I called a doctor and he said, yes, you have to go to the ER. And then by law, if you try to off yourself, they have to put you on at least 72-hour psych hold. And that's where it occurred to me, okay, suicide's not the answer either. And luckily, they hooked me up with 2 people from AA, so I'm now 3 years and 10 months sober. I'm a proud member of AA. Even though I was a pill girl, I still go to AA. And that helps me tremendously. I gained some new friends from AA, which is good because they're also sober. And then a year sober, I get lung cancer. And I had a mass in my left lung, and they had to take out half my left lung. During the surgery, the surgeon injured me, so I have a permanently paralyzed left vocal cord and an aperture above my cords. So I don't mind it because I now have to wear a special headset microphone, which makes me feel like Janet Jackson and very rock star, and it helps a lot. But I say it to the audience right at the beginning of the show. I go, here's why my voice is a little bit altered. And they're so forgiving. And these audiences, there's something special happening on this tour. I'm not kidding. It's like, if you buy a ticket that says An Evening with Kathy Griffin, you know about the Trump thing. You might know about the cancer. You might know about the divorce. You might even know about the pills and the suicide attempt. Or you might know one of those things. But the audiences are showing up and they're laughing. And it's like they're hugging me and they're on their feet. And I don't mean to sound like an asshole saying that. They've been on their feet every show.
Oh, but you feel the love. Look, what you've been through.
It's heaven. I can't wait till my show tonight. I can't wait till my show tomorrow night and the next night.
It's medicine.
I love it.
It's medicine.
It is medicine.
Did you heal anything permanently in whatever rock bottom was, and then bouncing back and getting life and gratitude and time to enjoy?
The drug thing is big because when you get off drugs and you join AA, and I'm pushing AA and I shouldn't because it's not my place, but I like it because they don't have one leader, so it's not like a cult or something, and it's free. You can go to meetings for free. I go to Zoom meetings, and listening to the stories of other addicts, many of who were suicidal, many of who were in psych wards, then it gives you this like, okay, I'm not the only one. I'm not alone.
Where was the rock bottom for you? Is it before the pills? Is it in the psych ward? It
was when I failed to kill myself because I had this dual realization of, I have to keep living my difficult life, which was just painful. But it was also the realization of this is not the answer. This is bottom. Like, even though I was messed up on pills, when you fall down 2 flights of stairs and you've got bruises and lacerations all over your body and you don't know how, you have a realization. And I went, okay, I'm not meant to die today.
But you can also do dark humor. So somewhere in there, I even got this wrong. My ending isn't gonna. You can do dark.
Oh yeah, because I feel, and I ask the audience. I say, okay, guys, I'm going to talk about cancer. Clap if you've been affected by cancer in any way. They all clap. I say, okay, I'm going to talk about. I don't talk about my divorce because it's a court case. But I say, I'm going to talk about addiction. Clap if you've been touched by addiction in any way. And they all clap. And I make fun of it. I mean, this is so dark. But one of my favorite things is if I'm on a Zoom AA meeting and someone comes in drunk. I know that makes me evil. I know I'm evil, but I can't help it because everybody's being earnest, and there's always one person with like a bottle of Jack Daniels. Hey, what are you guys doing afterwards?
You have to laugh at how flawed we are, at how flawed we are.
Or if I'm at the oncologist and one more person goes, Miss Gifford, Miss Kathy Lee Gifford, I'm not going to correct the oncologist. I just go, yep, right here.
You can't do that.
No.
You've learned what from the last 6 years? It's a broad question.
Learned that even at your lowest, darkest moment, whatever the topic is, for some people it's illness, for some people it's heartbreak, whatever, somehow look for the humor. Even if it's a joke that isn't funny to you today, but you think, oh, I might be able to laugh at this someday, that will get you through. I'm an old-fashioned believer in humor working. And then I would try jokes out on my friends. And they'd be like, oh, my God, I can't believe you said that out loud. And I go, aha, I'm onto something. And so I really do believe humor and also support. Get support from other folks that have gone through it. Find all kinds of support groups and talk to people and just get a real dialogue going. Like, I don't do small talk anymore. I'm like incapable of small talk. Sure, I'll talk about the weather for a minute or something. But one thing that has changed is I find the conversations I have with my friends who are now real friends, they're like real conversations like this.
Oh, but tell me about now real friends, because you do learn about people when you find out the ones who stick through the stickiness.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I called on all the favors. First of all, now that I'm on the road, I bring with me what I call a babysitter. And I bring a friend to come on the road with me and keep me company. Because sometimes when I wake up in the morning, part of my PTSD is I get terrors. And I wake up shaking and sweating as if there's like a guy at the end of my bed with a knife. And I know that sounds crazy because it is.
Well, but so to take people through, because one of the things I admire about you is you're so open about these things, at least in part, I would imagine, so people can feel less alone with it if they are suffering from it. Panic attacks, the vomiting.
I vomited for 10 months. I was down to 87 pounds. That actually is right up there with low points because I didn't know why I was so sick. I then was diagnosed with PTSD, and now I have a whole series of treatments that I also make fun of in my show. Kundalini yoga, acupuncture, cupping, where they have put the circles.
I know, I like cupping. I'm doing all sorts of acupuncture and things because I will tell you about my own panic attacks here, although they're not. Yours sounds so harrowing, okay? So I'm coming through a period of great grief and turmoil. My strength is being tested more than it ever has because we're doing things with a company, but also because I am at the deathbed side of my little brother watching a really vibrant personality chewed up by this horrible illness that we both know. And in the stresses of that, which I think are smaller in some ways than the stresses that you were dealing with. Well, but because I'm trying to put into context your level of anxiety and how panic attacks affected you.
Yeah.
On a handful of occasions, I'm going to say half a dozen without being able to place why it is that it was happening, but only in retrospect can I see that it was fear that was grabbing me. I was just passing out. I was just immediately like my body would just shut down without explanation and paramedics would show up and they wouldn't find anything. And so I can only realize in retrospect what that was doing to my mental health, the anxiety of all of that.
And the paramedics coming, and then you got to worry if it's something else, and you're not sure if you're fainting because of this reason.
I didn't. Well, I didn't have a diagnosis for what was happening with me.
And that's frustrating because you want to know what the hell you can do to fix it.
And yes, and I'm also in front of my wife, giving her the greatest fear that she can feel. And as I'm slipping away, I'm like, no, this is not how this ends here. And but what I'm saying is, in all of this, it wasn't vomiting and the terror. Like my body would just give up. Your body was enduring it.
Yeah.
And it's and so
I still have I had one yesterday that was a bitch. I woke up and I sweat in weird places and I can't think straight and lights hit me a certain weird way and sounds. I can't even watch TV. I had One day I had 2 sips of water the entire day. I can't keep anything down. So now I'm on a better regimen where I'm in good shape and I work out every day and all this other stuff. But there was about 10 months when sorry to be so gross, I could not stop vomiting. And I got really sick. And that was right after my cancer surgery. And I lost my voice because I've had 6 surgeries on my left cord so far. But for about 10 months, my voice literally was like this. And Jimmy Kimmel was the only one that would have me on his show. So I'll love him forever because I had this crazy voice and we had to explain it. But he said, it's okay. Tell your jokes. Come on the show. And that stuff like that means a lot.
What was when I'm asking about the worst of it, and I don't want you to do comparison shopping on pain, but I'm trying to figure out whether being alone because people are leaving your side or whatever it is, that the one thing is that was harming you the most was blank.
Fear, because I believe that's what caused the attacks. It's the fear of the unknown. My attacks were never 20 minutes or 2 hours. My attacks are always 12 to 14 hours. I can't move.
Jesus, Kathy.
I'm in the dark.
Kathy,
I'm on my side.
Hold on. So
I can't
this
even
is
watch
just
TV.
This is just paralyzing
And this is this week.
Your life.
Yes.
How do you tamp down the anxiety? How do you turn down slightly for you, for your mental health, the fishing line going to sea that your mind must be?
I do all the stuff. I do the Kundalini yoga. I do breath work exercises. I say things I don't even know what they mean. I go like this, Sat Nam, Sat Nam. I don't even know what the hell means. But if it calms me down to somehow get physical, if I can get out of my damn brain. But the problem is my PTSD is so physical, it just comes right from my body. So my brain is saying, Kathy, you're fine. You're absolutely fine. And thank God on show days, I've been doing it so long, I have so much muscle memory that even if I'm having an attack on a show day, let's say the show's at 7 o'clock, by about 5 o'clock, I start to put my makeup
Kathy,
on.
I can't believe what a safe
And then
space
by
comedy is
7,
for you. I can't believe.
I walk out on that stage,
Kathy, it's
the
blessing.
the buzzing, I get a buzzing all through my chest. It stops.
What a blessing.
It stops.
To have the thing that you love to create that is your art and expressed to people for applause, laughter, validation, to have that also be a 3 and 4 hour reprieve from the rest of your life.
Yes. Oh, it's heaven. It's heaven. And look, I'll be honest. Not every one of my shows is sold out. Okay. I didn't sell out in Omaha, but I don't care. I don't care if there were 3 people there or 3,000. And like I said, the audiences come in and I feel like they know me. You know, I've been touring decades. One year I did 80 cities in one tour. I wouldn't take one back. I love them. And the show's unpredictable. And so I think it keeps my mind from going to a dark place because I don't totally know what I'm going to say on stage every night. When Robin Williams said improvise, I took him really seriously. So I kind of have my anchor stories.
I never know, and I don't creatively. I spend 3 and 4 hours here in what is a very happy space with people I care about, and the communal
Everybody's
laughter.
so nice here.
They are, yes. They were happy to see you, and it is a bit of an environment that feeds me medicine at what has been a very difficult time.
Good.
But the way that you're articulating what your career has been and what the anxiety around it has been, I don't know what would come in second place for you on making you as happy as that stage does.
It's hard because, you know, it's what I love to do more than anything. And I have what I feel like is a relationship with my audiences. Some people, because I changed the show up so much, some people go, I've seen you 9 times. I haven't even seen a comedian 9 times. I'm so flattered by that. But I also...
Oh, but they feel like they know you.
They do.
They your history has...
And My Life on the D-List was a very real show. And so it's so touching. They remember a show from 15 years ago.
Kathy, you've given yourself over to them.
Oh, yeah.
So that this is the exchange, right? That's the relationship.
Yes.
That's where you're connecting with people. But is that second for you? When I ask you about the things that make you happy,
Yes.
as that stage, you're talking about the connection that comes from that
It
stage.
is, but I have to admit, and like I said, I'm going through a divorce. I am heartbroken, so it is medicine for me. But I admit I'm kind of a couple person, so I feel kind of untethered now. So that's been a tough one for me to work through. But, I make a joke saying I want to be the Golden Bachelorette. And, I just made fun of it. But
but it seems
that's been a tough one.
I don't know how afraid you are of being alone. I would think the last 6 years made you feel even more alone.
Yes. So I don't like being alone. I like being with my buddies. I like having friends come over. I like going to visit my friends. I don't love days where I'm just hanging out totally by myself. Sure, if I'm exhausted, plus I have 4 dogs who keep me busy. But no, I seek out friendships. I'm a big connection person, whether it's somebody I know very well or a new friend or somebody I've known. My friend Tom, who's here with me, we've known each other 40 years. He was my high school boyfriend. And so he's here babysitting me in Florida because he lives in Orlando and he worked for Disney for many years. And so it helps me just to have coffee with Tom in the morning.
Explain to me the babysitting.
The
Explain to me the
babysitting is
need.
key. It's key. Okay. So first of all, I have the same agent as Dave Chappelle, who's the GOAT. I'm not questioning that. Dave travels with 25 people. I gotta laugh. I travel with security, my tour manager, and I bring a babysitter, which really just means a friend to stay at the hotel with me and just gossip or watch TV. We were watching the Trump trial coverage and having coffee. And that has been a game changer for me because my husband was my tour manager. So I admit it's been really hard to wake up alone every morning, to go to bed alone every night. Even if I don't miss him per se, I miss having a person. And so these babysitters that come with me, I had the great E. Jean Carroll. And E. Jean was with me for a week. She's the one who just won the $88.3 million judgment against Trump. And out of the goodness of her heart, she came to 3 shows with me. She was backstage keeping me company. I bring one of my dogs with me on each leg of the tour. My dog Maggie is here. You met her. And that helps tremendously. So my babysitters are, for me, a game changer. I don't think I'll need it forever, but for now, I need it, and it helps me tremendously.
Maggie is named after your mother.
Yes.
You lost her at 99 years.
99 years young during COVID. Now, she did not die of COVID, but we couldn't have a memorial.
So you were very close?
Very close. She was on my Life on the D list. I used to put her on camera whenever I could. I'd put her on my social media, and she didn't know why she was funny. She was just funny. My dad was like comedian funny. He could be funny on cue. My mom would just say crazy stuff. And she loved her boxed wine. And she loved her Franzia. And she made fun of me. And she went to her deathbed wishing I would be a dental hygienist.
Okay, I want to know about what scars she left, but I worked with my father on television. It was a enormous blessing, but also he never actually considered me his boss. So I was always going to be his son.
There's a power struggle. There's a power struggle there.
It was weird to me that there would be a power struggle because he was doing the show in his second language and he knew nothing about sports. And I was just asking him, come on, just be my dad.
Right.
And he did wrestle me to the ground, stole the show from me. I'll never forgive him.
Of course.
But your relationship with your mother and how it is that she either approved of you or didn't,
Yes.
shaped you. How do you define? How would you explain the love of that relationship to
it was
others?
old-fashioned. Remember, she died at 99, so she went through World War II and everything. So in her era, it was tough love. Like my mom would say things to me like, you might be cute, but you'll never be pretty. And later on in life, I go, Mom, why would you say to your daughter, you might be cute, but you'll never be pretty? She goes, because I wanted to save you from getting your hopes up. That is hilarious to me. That is just funny. I'm not saying it's
not
nice.
great parenting.
It's not great parenting, but she was a little tipsy.
Okay.
She was a little tipsy at the time, which means all the time.
Okay. Yes. Well, this is why you didn't have a drink, right?
I've never had a drink to this day.
Because you saw its ravages?
Yes.
Okay. And what were its ravages?
Well, I will say my parents were functional drunks. My dad never lost his job. My mom never lost her job. But let me tell you something, honey. It was 5 o'clock somewhere. And I could make a Tom Collins when I was 8 years old because they used to have the powder packets and you put it in with some booze. And my dad would walk home. He used to work at Radio Shack. And he'd come home and he'd go, he would always call me, what did he call me? Not Kitty. I think Dolly. He goes, because he used to say that because of 5 kids, he didn't want to memorize the names. So he called the girls Dolly and the boys Clyde. So he'd go, Dolly, make me a Tom Collins. So I could make a Tom Collins at 8 years old. I'm multi-talented. I'm not just hilarious and a humble legend. A humble legend. I'm just a down-to-earth icon.
So America was better back then. You can just ask the 8-year-old, hey, Dolly.
I can make a Manhattan. I can make a Tom Collins.
Tom Collins.
I can make an old-fashioned.
Okay, this is a horror, obviously.
Horror. And yet, I gave it to him, and I felt so important. I felt like I'm accomplished. That was more important than good grades to them.
Okay, but they probably did some damage to you.
I mean, they weren't necessarily attentive. I'm not going to... I was what you call a latchkey kid. So both of my parents worked because we were lower middle class, and they both had full-time jobs. So I walked to school, walked back. I would come home, watch the after-school special, The Boy in the Plastic Bubble or something.
That's right, sure.
Or watch the Merv Griffin show
That's
or the
right.
Dinosaur show.
All classics.
Whatever.
Don't apologize for any of that.
And I'd be alone. And then I would wait for mom and dad to come home. Neither one of them cooked. So we dined on a dish called Hamburger Helper, which is a dish predicated on the notion that a hamburger needs help.
That's right.
And it comes with powder flavors. So it's hamburger, noodles, and powder beef stroganoff mix. And I thought it was delicious. There was a McDonald's down the block, and my mom would give me $1. And she goes, here's $1. I should only give you 50 cents, but I'm feeling generous. Here's $1. Go get dinner. I was a McDonald's kid. My parents were workaholics themselves. My dad worked retail 14 hours a day. My mom worked in a Catholic hospital. Those nuns ran her ragged. Those nuns can be vicious.
They made you an atheist. They made you an atheist.
I'm an atheist because of the nuns. I went to Catholic school, and those nuns and priests turned me against it. And although, let me tell you, you can barely say that in America. When I play overseas and I say I'm an atheist, they all clap. But in America, it's very touchy.
It kills overseas.
Because of those damn mega churches. What about when Joel Osteen, when he was having work done on his bathroom, and they break into the drywall, and there was $70,000 cash in his drywall? Joel Osteen! You're damn right I'm an atheist.
There are a number of different things that may be the reason for your laughter and where it is that comedy soothes you. I don't know exactly where it came from or what it is that you were hiding from or running away from.
I don't mean to say this in a bad way to my family, but I was what you call an accident baby, and my parents told me that constantly. So my mom and dad used the rhythm method, which means no condoms, and they hope that she's not ovulating. So my mom had me at 40, my dad was 45, and my whole life they were like, Kathleen, we were supposed to stop at 4 goddamn kids, but now you're an accident, so you better make something of yourself. Go be a dental hygienist. And so now that would be considered so politically incorrect to tell a child, you're my accident.
No, that's correct. Well, no, it's just it's again bad parenting.
It's bad parenting. Let's call it what it is.
It's objectively bad parenting.
And I say that with respect to them. They did the best they could. They were a little tipsy. But yes, I am an accident. And so there's something about when you're told your whole life, you're not going to be pretty and you're an accident. There's something that gave me that drive. And I knew it from when I was a kid. I never wanted to be anything else. When I was a little girl, I just thought, I want to be the sidekick. I'd watch I Love Lucy, and I wanted to be Ethel. I'd watch the Mary Tyler Moore Show. I wanted to be Rhoda.
You just wanted to be near it.
You know why? I thought the pretty girl doesn't get the funniest lines. But the sidekick gets in, gets the joke, gets the laughs, and gets the fuck out of Dodge. So I'm going to name drop. I used to date Quentin Tarantino, and I got in this sitcom called Suddenly Susan, and Brooke Shields was the star, and I was the sidekick. And I ran into Quentin, and he goes, You did it. You're the sidekick to the pretty girl. You did it. Congratulations. And I said, you're doing pretty well yourself, Quentin. But I love that he understood that.
Kathy, you and Quentin dating is
During Pulp Fiction.
It's just
During.
But it's Looney Tunes given how you're both built and given
Oh, what about the kid I banged from NSYNC?
Lance.
No, Lance, I turned gay.
Okay,
Lance was
my
straight,
bad.
then I
I'm
turned
sorry. I'm
gay.
sorry. My boy
I'm talking
band.
about Joey, allegedly.
Okay. I did not know.
Still really cute.
I did not know that story.
You didn't need to. It's too much information. You weren't prepared for that.
I wasn't. I'm a little taken aback.
I understand. That's what I do.
Your Quentin Tarantino, though, the two of those minds together working at that creative
pace. You know what
pace.
he would do? First of all, he was amazing. I never fucked him, but we used to cuddle. We'd cuddle all night. And we would make fun of it because I would go, I'm not going to be some other actress that fucks you. I don't need you. And he would laugh because I was totally unknown. And he would say, I can fuck anybody. I don't need to fuck you either. So we would cuddle and we would talk. But he did something I just have to brag about. He took me to see Reservoir Dogs with him because I hadn't seen it and he was so offended. So it was showing at an art house. He invited the entire cast and said, I'm going out with this girl who's never seen Reservoir Dogs. Can you believe it? Let's go watch it tonight at the New Beverly in Los Angeles. They came. I went to watch Reservoir Dogs with Quentin and the cast.
That's a
of
good
Reservoir
story.
Dogs.
That's a good
And
story.
we went out to eat afterwards.
And he was just trying to impress you.
And I was making fun of them.
And you liked the movie.
I loved it. But I was making fun of Michael Madsen, who's nuts. And I was making fun of Steve Buscemi going, is it Buscemi or Buscemi? Make up your mind. And I go, shouldn't you still be a fireman? Good God, Steve, get a steady job. It meant so much that he did that. And he would call me at 3 a.m. when he was writing Pulp Fiction and say, can I read some pages to you? And he read pages to
wow.
me
So you
at
got to
3
be
in the
both.
morning.
You both got to be genius adjacent and crazy adjacent.
And crazy adjacent.
Because
Michael Madsen didn't kill me, which I thought was a win. I thought that was a win. And then Quentin cast me in 3 things. He gave me a couple lines in ER. He directed ER. He gave me 3 lines in Pulp Fiction. He gave me a lot of lines in a movie called 4 Rooms. But I am so grateful to anybody like that would have the power to take a chance, because it's not an easy sell. You know, I come with baggage. Get a bellhop.
What was the hardest part of coming up in comedy? Just as somebody who's
the guys
fighter.
telling me I'm not funny. The guys saying because you don't have a written act that has classic setup, punchline, setup, punchline. I tell stories. And the guys would just say that you're not doing stand-up. And I'd say, well, I started in the theater, and the theater used to let me open the play with a little story from my week. And it took like 10 minutes. And that's when Lisa Kudrow came up to me and said, you should do stand-up. But when I did the clubs, man, those guys were tough in the 80s. I mean, we're going back to the 80s. And I saw all their penises. I'm not going to name names, but if there's a guy in comedy who's within 10 years of my age, I saw his penis. Hey, Kath, want to see my wristwatch? Yes, I see your wristwatch.
So it's all Louis C.K. type of stuff?
2.0. I saw a lot of penises that I didn't ask for. But in those days, we were so dumb. We girls didn't know that was inappropriate. We thought they were just being silly. It was inappropriate. I was wrong. But that was just
But
the
you
way
were
it
still
was.
an outsider, right? There weren't many of
Trying
you.
to get in, banging on the door. Let me in. Give me a chance. Give me a chance.
There weren't many of you, right?
No. I mean, I came up with Margaret Cho, and Margaret has a lot of struggles, and she has ups and downs. I came up with, I don't know, I wouldn't say Ellen. She was doing better than I. Rosie was already established. You know what's funny? I didn't come up with that many girls that are still around. Let's be honest.
Well, it's hard. It is hard to age with grace.
Even girls that are over like 55, I could only name like about 5. Like Wanda, Sykes.
Comedy age is hard. It's hard for any comedians of any gender, but I would imagine it would be even harder for women.
And you have to stay sharp. So every minute I'm reading the paper cover to cover. Every minute I'm reading the gossip blogs. Every minute I'm
Oh, it
calling
never
people.
stops.
Never.
You say you use yoga. I've done an assortment of things to try and slow down my mind. My mind gives me the illusion of control, and it can be a poison. There's good stuff that comes from it.
Because it sometimes can convince your body something's happening that isn't really happening.
It can,
which is crazy making.
It can create all sorts of fears, all sorts of things, but it does give me the illusion of control. I often trust it, but not for happiness.
Okay.
It's not something that
Okay.
I trust it to give me order.
Right.
But I would say that it has been a poison. It's continual unspooling in the places.
You have to keep an eye on it and work on it every minute. Because I don't know about you, but I can plummet fast.
Well, you're talking,
Fast.
what I hear from you, and I don't, what I hear from you is that some of this stuff allows you to have a hiding place where you can think about these things, and they allow you to not think or feel about the things that feel bad.
You learn to be compartmentalized. Have you learned that?
I don't have the conscious anxiety that you have, that I have to hide from. Not conscious. I'm not saying I don't have it.
Yeah.
I just don't rev at that speed on the anxiety.
So you're not like weird sweating on your butt crack and weird stuff.
No, I mean I'm actually probably the reverse of you. If you put me on a stage in front of people, that would not be a safe space for me. But I'm not.
I'm abnormal.
No, but you're a performer. I am not. There's something that you crave from performance. The thing that I do sort of hides. It's not in front of people that way. It's not on a stage reduced to, you expect me to be funny, and
you're the only one out there, baby.
By yourself.
You got a backup band.
But I'm not as brave as you. Like, you put me in that situation and the fear will grab me and submerge me. You live for that. Thrive in it.
I get submerged when I wake up at 8 a.m. or typically I wake up at like 5 a.m. in the dark, and then I'm scared and I start shaking and it's a whole thing. But no, when I go on stage, it's almost like the minute my shoes hit that stage, the buzzing that's been with me all day goes away, and I'm talking to my friends. And then after the shows, I feel fine. And so, believe it or not, it's very hard for me to eat during the day because my stomach is so sick. But this is not healthy. I usually have my good meal after a show because I don't feel that buzzing, heart palpitating, terrible, am I going to throw up? So I'm sorry to gross out your listeners and viewers.
It's just such an amazing hiding place for your life, but it must be a place that you have to run to.
Yes.
I'm
in your Kleenex box. I'm sorry.
That's okay. That you have
it's a metaphor for what I've done to show business.
It's a cheap. How do we not do better with the things around
Where's
here?
Where's the celebrity Kleenex, for God's sake? I'm a humble legend.
We need these. Everybody's crying around here, and we've got this thing. Look at this.
Look at this.
Come on.
The
woman's worked at the height of entertainment.
I was a radio station
she knows important people.
I slept with a kid from NSYNC.
Give her good tissues.
Nobody else here slept with anybody from NSYNC. I guarantee you that much.
You don't know that.
Well, all right.
You don't know that. It's presumptuous.
I think we should ask afterwards.
The life that takes you from your parents into comedy.
Well, also into LA, not knowing a soul. So when people talk about Nepo babies, yeah, that's a real thing.
But let's
I was never on a set.
Let's talk about
how extra for $25 a day for years.
Let's talk about how tough you had to be to chase what it is that you decided to chase.
I was so stupid. I would walk into casting offices not knowing that they have to call you, and I'd have the best picture I had of myself. Hi, my name is Kathy Griffin. Even then, my name is Kathy Griffin. I'm an actress. I would love to work. And they'd go, who are you? You don't have an appointment. And I would just do stuff like that. I'd walk into William Morris and give them a picture and go, hi, I'm Kathy Griffin. Are you hiring any actors today? I didn't know a thing. I was 18.
Do you know that you're brave and strong? Do you know that?
No, I feel like a weak mush. I cry at commercials. I can't watch the ASPCA. In the arms.
You don't think you're brave and strong?
I have 4 dogs already. I can't adopt 200 more, which is what I wish I could.
You don't think you're brave and strong?
I think I do what I have to do. I wish I could say brave and strong, but I think I do put my one foot in front of the other.
So you can't. What you're telling me is that
I hear my mom going, "Don't be so high and mighty, calling yourself brave and strong."
well, you've overcome a lot. So what is?
Yeah.
I mean, what is strength if not?
Resilient. That's what I like when people say that I'm resilient, because it's like, okay, good. That's not such a high and mighty word. And I got freaking half a lung. I'm resilient.
Bravery is not the absence of fear. I don't. It's the ability.
The fear is there.
To overcome it, though. Yeah. And so when I look at the things you do and you've been, and the things that you overcome, because you clearly have an anxiety that plagues you that comes from.
And I didn't used to have it. Before the Trump thing, I didn't have it. So it's this new thing that I deal with that, like I said, is so physical.
So you would say, for the people who do not know the earlier parts of your career, you revved high, but not this high, correct?
Correct.
Like you have been damaged.
I was on a sitcom, and then I didn't work for a while, and that wasn't fun. But then I started doing more stand-up, and then I got my life on the D-list. So truthfully, to be honest, while I was a late bloomer, my career trajectory was pretty much on an upswing. And then the Trump thing was boom, down in the basement, all the repercussions, and something that I genuinely didn't see coming.
So being alone with that, with your identity being stamped out as somebody who liked being famous, who made fun of being famous, it's enough to make you want to end your life.
Oh, yeah. The invites stopped. The phone calls stopped. It just, and like I say, I'm not advocating, obviously, for suicide. It's not the answer ever. But in that crazy place I was in, which I want to just reiterate was drug-fueled, I really thought, okay, this kind of makes sense. Now that I'm a sober person, my brain would stop and go, Kathy, this is going to pass.
But this has to speak to so many people in our audience because of the opioid epidemic, because of how easy it is to not be aware that you're getting addicted to these things.
I never meant to. I took sleeping pills because I couldn't sleep, and my schedule was one morning it's early, then it's late. Then I took painkillers because I got injuries over the years, falling down on stage or falling whatever. And then I took Adderall because I'd be exhausted, and I thought, they were handing it out like candy. So I really never bought street drugs. I'm not judging. I'm just saying I never bought street drugs. I honestly just got these from doctors. And then I admit, I then started asking for more than I needed, and I wanted to numb myself out.
To escape everything.
Yes.
Self-medicating.
Yes.
And and you were able to get as much as you wanted because you're Kathy Griffin, because you have money.
Doctors all over Beverly Hills. And I just have to say, and I don't mean to be political, I think it's a crime in this country that we incarcerate people just because they're addicts. Now, if they're selling drugs, that's different. But people that they can't get off meth, they can't get off heroin, and so they fall asleep on the sidewalk or something. But the fact that if a cop catches you holding heroin, it breaks my heart that we put people in incarceration, because I have the benefit of AA. Most of my friends, I didn't go to rehab because it was COVID, but, we have other options. So I just want to put my 2 cents in there. I wish we would stop imprisoning people who need help off they're not criminals. They don't want to rob a bank. They don't want to assault you. They just want their freaking oxy or whatever their drug of choice is.
You would say the most simplistic thing that you would say is this is a sickness that I didn't realize I was signing up
Absolutely.
for. I didn't realize.
Remember, I've never had a drink to this day.
I didn't realize how it would grab a hold of me.
I didn't think I could be an addict of any kind.
You were afraid of alcoholism, and you're not self-aware enough while you're going through the trauma of what you're going through to know, of course, these meds are helping my mood.
I may as well have been drinking because I was trying to do the same thing. But in my mind, I'm sitting home by myself. I got the president tweeting about me. I got the first lady tweeting about me. I got, this whole, my own industry saying, don't call, leave us alone. I had one network say, I like you. I know you earn a lot of money for companies, but we have the whole middle of the country and they're Trumpers and you're considered toxic. And he said, and you know what? I'm glad he was honest with me because it hurts when they just keep saying, no, thanks. And you're like, can I have a reason? And I was grateful when that one network executive said that to me because at least I thought, okay, now I know what I'm dealing with. And so I thought, I don't want to do a show about Trump. So like I said, my new show, I don't even mention Trump. I mean, if he farts in court, I might say one line about that because that's heaven. That's comedy gold.
Is it heaven, Kathy? Is it heaven, Kathy? You've been in comedy a long time. Is it heaven for Trump farting in court? You're saying it's heaven.
No, the best
it's not
part
my
is,
heaven, Kathy.
The best part is the newscasters don't know how to say it. So they love saying things like, and another note, today's coverage is also about his fellow counsel and how they would move their chairs at least 2 feet away from the former president without explanation. Because they can't come out and say, the guy's farting.
Okay.
Funny.
You are a brave truth teller. I didn't say it wasn't funny.
I'm just
what
saying.
I said is it's not heaven. It's very much not.
And it's not highbrow.
Heaven.
I'm not acting like I'm some highbrow
Oh, no,
comic.
but it's funny. No, we were talking just recently on our show whether the fart was the original joke before anybody was able to speak.
Was it the first joke?
I don't know, but it seems like a good. It seems like a good nominee. It's got to be. It's got to be. The thing that you had happen to you over the last 6 years, I don't know that we have properly explained to people because you've named the tour after the PTSD.
Yes, Kathy Griffin, My Life on the PTSD list.
That you're on the list because you want to show people at what represents, you've been, if you're dealing with the cancer that you've dealt with, you've been on the brink of mortality and back. You're doing life and death.
And that diagnosis is really something. So it's the type of thing you fear about your whole life, and then a doctor's going, you have cancer. So I talk about that stuff. I even talk about trying to off myself, but I say to the audience, don't be scared. I promise it was so over the top. I'll make it funny, and they hang with me. And that's amazing to me because I'm definitely talking about topics that when I was younger was told, oh no, you can't ever make a cancer joke. Well, if it's about myself, I can make it. So that's the only thing I know how to do is take whatever craziness is happening in my life and try to put it into some sort of funny setting. But I don't tell jokes that I don't have writers. I've never had a writer. I know comics that have people write their entire special. Why be a comic if you're not writing your own stuff? That's the fun part.
Well, you have written and produced all of your
21 specials.
World record. I made it 23 at the start.
I love
think, because I thought it was 20, and then I saw in your Twitter bio that it said 23.
Some are televised and some are audio only.
Okay, regardless, it's more than anyone ever has done.
Male or female, living or dead, baby.
And what are the reactions of other comics to you? It is a small world. It's an insecure world. It's a judgmental world. I'm sure people say to you, well, you're not doing it the way that it's done by hitting those notes. But how have you been received in that world outside of the deals, what you've had to deal with because men can be cavemen?
Men can be cavemen, but also, I'm just going to be honest, I'm kind of shunned by my community. I'm not invited to the festivals. I'm not invited to the parties. One reason is my fault because I tour alone. So if I was touring with a lot of comics tour with 5 comics, I probably know more journalists and politicians than comics at this point. But when I was younger and unknown, I loved it. It was Janine Garofalo and Margaret Cho and Bob Odenkirk and David Cross and, Louis C.K. and Adam Sandler and David Spade. And being around those guys was really fucking fun. Really fun. But to be honest, I don't think it would occur to them to cast me in something. I don't think they think of me like Sarah Silverman. They were all wanting to sleep with Sarah and all were in love with her. Remember, I'm keeping up pretty. And so a lot of times I'd be talking to a comic, and 10 minutes in, he'd go, by the way, do you have Sarah's number? I gave out Sarah Silverman's phone number more than Sarah gave it out. And I love her. She's a friend of mine, and she's awesome, and she's paid her dues. But I'm going to be honest. I'm not at the Netflix as a joke. I'm getting pictures from people. Everyone's showing me. I'm not in that crowd. You know, I'm banned from most talk shows. Still, I'm banned from Kelly and Mark. I haven't been on The Tonight Show since Jimmy Fallon. I have nothing against him. Pretty much Jimmy Kimmel and Seth Meyers. Oh, but I'm back on The View. And I think the cancer was key. Because I could croak. I could croak during this interview.
Why were you on The View for such a short period of time? It was right after Rosie O'Donnell, right?
Well, I was on twice. I was on many times with Barbara Walters, who was scary as hell, but I loved her. And they offered me the job to co-host, and I didn't take it because I was making so much more money on the road. And I said to Barbara Walters, here's the math, because I don't want you to think I'm ungrateful. And she was still furious. But then they had me co-host countless times. And then I was on the day after the Rosie O'Donnell, Elizabeth Hasselbeck fight. And let me tell you.
Bad timing.
That was wild. And Barbara said to me, Kathy, no matter what you do, don't bring up Rosie and Elizabeth. I brought it up every 5 minutes. She was kicking me under the table. I have bruises to this day.
That's a pretty good Barbara.
Kathy, you promised. You promised you wouldn't bring up Rosie.
You enjoyed frazzling her.
I loved it.
You enjoyed
and I love live TV.
You did it to Andy Cohen.
Yes,
and you did
all of them.
And Anderson Cooper. What is your relationship with those two?
Well, Andy Cohen, I would say, is not a fan. There's a tape of him on TMZ saying he doesn't even know me in a way that's not very kind. He's probably the reason I'm not at Bravo anymore, which makes me sad because I really loved it there. But I also will be honest, one thing that I've created for myself is I didn't understand that being a chick, you can't negotiate the way the guys do. I would go to the head of the studio or network, including Jeff Zucker, who used to run CNN and NBC, and I would personally ask for a raise because my agents didn't want to piss him off. Years of, I get in fights with executives. I'm in a fight with Elon Musk. Elon Musk and I are fighting.
That's right.
I am beefing.
That's right.
With Elon.
That's right.
I can't help it. I can't help myself.
I asked you, though, about Andy Cohen. I asked you about your relationship with him and what happened there.
We don't have one.
If you don't want to talk about it, it's fine. If it's a bad subject, I don't mean to.
It hurts because, look, he's a very powerful guy. He really is. And, I think he wasn't in my corner. Maybe he thought I was too demanding because as the producer of my life on the D-list, I would fight for stuff. And I would hear my guy comic friends fighting. And I was like, oh, that's what you do. Unfortunately, I'm just going to say it. I don't think they treat women the same. And so I think when I was calling, I was difficult. So my reputation in Hollywood is that I'm expensive because I try to get what the guys get. And I'm difficult because if I'm doing a special, I want this kind of music. I want this kind of effect. I'm trying to make the show as good as possible. And frankly, I feel like I have enough experience that you're not listening to some 18-year-old who just got out of high school. But that's probably why I have enemies, is part of it was me thinking, oh, these guys are tough. And I think they weren't used to women talking to them that way.
Given how much Bravo means to you,
yeah,
and given how Andy sort of runs Bravo, did I hit something that hurt you because...
It hurts because I think he does run Bravo, even though he kind of acts like he doesn't. And I think one thing that hurts is I think he just didn't care for me anymore. And that hurts because it's almost like losing a friend. And I got them 6 Emmy nominations, 2 Emmy wins. He's very involved in the Housewives. I was just doing my show before the Housewives. And I think he makes the decisions there. And I wish he didn't feel that way about me.
When would you describe yourself as most anxiety-free or just happiest doing this?
Working and knowing work is coming up.
But I'm saying, at what time in your life? Was there a time? Was there a period?
When I was doing the D-list, and I was doing 2 specials a year on Bravo, and I was touring like a beast, it was heaven. I was younger. It didn't, take its toll on my body. I was living the dream. I was selling out everywhere. That was amazing. So the late 90s and the 2000s and into the 2010s and really until like 2016. And so that was a long, fantastic heyday that I'm very grateful for.
So is there still something to prove?
Oh, yeah. I still have to prove I'm good enough. I still have to prove I can be as funny as a guy. I still have to prove I can sell tickets. I still have to prove I can get clicks. I still have to prove I can get social media followers, get viewers. I mean, it's never
It's
ending.
exhausting, though, is it not?
You got to do it all. I don't know how to edit. I have to have these girls in their 20s do my social media.
You have to keep up. You have to
Oh, my
keep
God, you
up.
got to be an editor. You got to be a selling person. You got to be a camera person. I'm just trying to be funny here.
The hustle is difficult at
Yeah.
this age.
Yes.
Like the daily hustle of jumping from city to
Yes.
city, of touring, of worrying about whether you're selling
I
out.
just did an interview for my show coming up from Long Island Woman magazine, which I'll be honest, I never heard of. I am doing college newspapers. I'm doing Good Morning Cleveland. I'm doing Afternoon Drive
Hungry as
Cleveland.
you've ever been.
Hungry as the wolf, yes.
Hustling the way that you did in your...
Like Joan Rivers taught me, because I watched Joan go through ebbs and flows, and she handled it with such grace, and she never lost sight of how much she loved it. And she taught me a lot. I watched Rickles. Rickles, people don't know this, but Rickles was very wounded by the people that thought he was a mean comic, when really he was just poking fun at people and having fun with them. And you couldn't find a nicer guy. You couldn't find a nicer guy.
If I were to ask you for Mount Rushmore, if you
Yes.
can only choose 4 of them,
Okay.
stand-up comics for all time. You only get 4, though,
Oh,
and
you're killing me.
I am going to kill you
killing
here,
me.
yes, because you can't have a 5th, and
Okay.
but I feel like you appreciate the art of it, and even if your
Yes.
style is different, the sculpting, the
Oh,
music in it,
yeah.
who's a consummate
And the
professional.
work ethic and the ability to evolve and change. So obviously Joan and Rickles. And the last 2 are really going to be hard. So I'm just going to almost pick 2 names out of a hat. I'd probably put Wanda Sykes. I think she's a goat. And I got to throw in Dave, even though I wish he wouldn't talk about trans issues so much, but I got to throw in Chappelle. And the last time I saw him live, it was just, he was on fire.
He is somebody that I've heard comics beyond just that wish that he had done more to sharpen everything he's been in the last 15 years, because it's so natural to him,
Oh my
because
God,
he's such
he's
a
good.
storyteller.
He's so good. And he makes anything funny.
But the last 15 years, beyond the fame elements of
Yeah.
wherever it is that all of that gets shaky, and this joke that he keeps making because he wants the last word on
Right.
it, you as somebody who has represented on behalf of a community.
Of the LGBT community, yeah.
I'm
So I'm just saying,
I'm surprised
I
that you
love
can
Dave.
separate art from
I
artists
love you,
there.
Dave. And I know you're not going to listen to Kathy Griffin tell you how to do your act. I'm just saying, mentioning the trans community 3 times in specials, I don't know that Dave understands. This is the #1 community at danger of being assassinated, murdered, beaten to death, and mutilated around the world. Around the world. A trans person of any, race, color, or creed. And that's the only reason I want him to just move on from that topic. But I haven't talked to him about it. He's not going to listen to me. He shouldn't listen to me. But as someone who's an ally, I just kind of wish he maybe would understand this is a community that, it's punching down. It's punching down. This is a community where these kids are getting beaten to death is the worst way to go. And Dave probably doesn't know that. He's not in touch with the community. I have gay folks at all my shows, and I have women with trans kids and guys with trans kids. And so just knowing it's such a vulnerable community, that's the only, I'm not trying to dump on Dave. I'm not. I've seen him do some of the best stand-up I've ever seen in my life. just wish he would stop talking about trans folks.
But explain to us what the advocacy has meant to you, because these are now your constituency, your community, your customers, but you mean something to the gay community for a reason. And that relationship is very meaningful to you.
It's genuine. I mean, I'm here with my high school boyfriend, Tom, who's now married to a man. So which came first, the chicken or the egg? Was he born gay or did I turn him gay? You know, we'll just never know. We'll leave that to our maker. But I tease about all the topics because I think the gay folks that come to my show know I've been in this for decades. You know, I used to open my specials with, "Where are my gays at?" And some of the gays get mad at me and they say, "You shouldn't use the possessive my gays." And I say, "Well, honey, when I started, the word wasn't gay. It was a much worse word. Everybody used it. And so keep a little perspective and just have fun." But I mean LGBT, all inclusive folks. Everybody's welcome. Like you said, it's a safe space.
Before we get you out of here, and I appreciate your time, I will tell the people my life on the PTSD list, the tours performing across the country with shows into 2025. KathyGriffin.com is where you go for dates, for tickets. You mentioned Joan Rivers and your relationship with her. Similarly, she seemed very neurotic.
Yeah.
I don't know how similar your upbringings were. I don't know how much of a mirror she was for you in being someone who broke down the late night door that must have had even more men in front of it and even more misogyny in front of it.
I don't know how she dealt with it. I know that when Johnny Carson broke up with her, she was heartbroken till the day she died about that because she really loved Johnny Carson and felt she owed him. But people don't know this. She also saw the list of people that were to replace Johnny when he retired. And it was a list of, I think, 12 guys. She wasn't even on the list. So she got a call from Fox and she called Johnny and said, "Can I have your blessing?" He hung up the phone on her. And when she told me that story, which she later went on to tell on stage, so I'm not, betraying your confidence, I kind of understand that with Anderson Cooper, with Andy Cohen. I kind of get that, like, oh, I was wrong about this relationship. I was facing it one way and the other party didn't feel that way. And I saw her have to work harder and jump higher. I went to Howard Stern's 60th birthday party. Joan got up there and killed. She killed. And so many times she didn't give an F. She didn't have an F left to give. And it's one of the reasons I think people loved her, because she made fun of herself more than anything. She made fun of everybody. Now, obviously, a lot of those jokes she wouldn't do today. It was a different time. Same with Rickles. Same with all the greats. Same with Richard Pryor. But just keep some perspective, because I learned so much watching her go through ups and downs. And she just would stay centered on the work. And even in our last dinner together before she passed away, she would stop the meal and go, "Aren't we lucky? Aren't we lucky? Look at what we get to do for a living. We're lucky." And she would say that every time we had lunch or dinner, and it was heaven.
It's crazy, but you were and are fortunate to be able to make a living around laughter.
Yeah.
Whatever it is that you connected with, I believe what happened there is accurate, that she went to compete against Johnny and Johnny never forgave it, even though Johnny gave her the opportunity, and she was the one who co-host or guest hosted more than anyone, right? And so she went to get her own path. Yeah. And so what you're saying is, even the men that are on your side, sometimes you don't totally know that they're going to try. Your experience isn't that they actually lift you up so that you can soar.
I wish I could say that, but I can't. I can't say the guys in my career have lifted me up. I can't. I wish I could. Now, I've been lucky. I've had a couple good agents and a good lawyer over many years, but it's very rare. And, it's funny. I watch these comics, and celebrities always come to their shows. Celebrities don't go to my shows. I mean, every once in a while. But I still do feel like an outsider looking in. And I think that's what I identify with about the D-list. It's why I'll never be A-list. which is okay because I can kind of walk around and have a life. But the D list is right where I belong.
There is something a bit, no matter whether we accept it or not, demoralizing about chasing from youth, your mother saying cute but never pretty.
Yes.
And then going through life trying to make yourself matter in this world.
Famous, matter, funny.
Where everyone seems to be against you and you feel alone. You feel like a little bit of an outcast. You want to share with babysitters because you don't want to be alone like that. There is a piece of you that I hurt for you because it sounds like it's been alone too long, even as you find all these places to connect where you have really emotional relationships with people who care for you. There's still a loneliness in it in a way that is heartbreaking even around the laughter.
Yeah, and that's what's been difficult. It will pass. But about my divorce, my husband was my tour manager. So, you know, I'm used to going to bed with somebody in a hotel or at home, waking up with somebody in a hotel or at home. So that part made a difference. And like I said, I liked having a person, you know. And so that part has been an adjustment. I'm not going to lie, but it'll take time. It's only been 3.5 months. And it'll take time, and I'll get there. But thank God for this tour. I'm so happy to have a show tonight and tomorrow night. And the next night, I can't tell you.
Before we leave, what would you tell us about love that you've learned from love, learned from relationships, whether it's love of your mother, love of your siblings, love of men you've divorced?
I'd say it's if somebody that you're with that you can really be yourself. Really be yourself. And both parties. So girls make jokes about, you know, oh, my hair is in curlers or something. But same with the guy. So the guy can just really be himself. And also, what my parents did have was they had a mutual respect for each other. My dad thought my mom was the greatest woman in the world. And my mom thought my dad was the greatest guy in the world. And I think I did not necessarily have that. I've had some good boyfriends over the year. I'm not bitching. But I think that's key, is a mutual respect, and to think the other one is the best person you could be with.
I think, do I have this wrong, that one of your husbands stole $70,000 from you? Do I have this wrong? That
I know of.
That you
embezzled.
Okay.
Just my picker's broken. My picker's broken.
It's never been any good. You've had comedians wandering around you. They love funny. They love funny women. They love women who understand the insecurities of funny men.
I'm telling you, Golden Bachelorette, I'm ready. Call me, ABC.
All right. Thank you, Kathy. You are a delight. You've been a delight for many years. KathyGriffin.com for dates and tickets. I appreciate so much you sharing your story with us. It seems like your laughter is earned, young lady.
Good. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.